The mechanics of democracy. Democracy in motion. Not a scheme, a process. Democracy is not a fixed diagram or a set of formal procedures written in textbooks. It is a living process in which society, institutions, and power constantly interact, collide, adapt, and search for temporary balances. People as the source. Any democratic system begins not in parliament halls or presidential offices, but within society itself. Public fears, expectations, values, demographics, and ideas of justice shape how power behaves and evolves. Why understanding matters. When citizens do not understand how power actually functions, democracy turns into a ritual. Knowledge of political mechanisms transforms people from passive observers into active participants. Purpose of this video. This video explains how parliaments and governments are formed, how laws are created, how branches of power interact, and why public participation remains the decisive force in democratic systems. How parliament is formed. Elections as a social snapshot. Parliaments are formed through elections that capture the real state of society at a specific moment. They reflect social divisions, economic fears, cultural values, and the collective mood of the population. Representation systems. Majoritarian and proportional systems convert votes into seats differently. Each model amplifies certain voices while limiting others, shaping the internal balance of power inside parliament. Renewal and inertia. Every new parliament is a compromise between renewal and continuity. Established political forces resist change, while new social groups gradually push their way into representation. Parliament as an arena. Parliament is not a unified body but a permanent arena of negotiation and conflict. Regional, generational, professional, and ideological interests compete openly within its walls. Power of public pressure. The more active society is after elections, the more accurately parliament reflects public will. Civic pressure, protests, and debate influence parliamentary behavior long beyond election day. How government is formed. Parliamentary republic. In parliamentary systems, governments emerge from parliamentary majorities. Their survival depends on maintaining confidence in parliament, which indirectly represents society's trust. Coalitions as social dialogue. Coalition negotiations are not a weakness but an institutional form of social compromise. Diverse political forces must coordinate interests that mirror divisions within society itself. Presidential republic. In presidential systems, governments form around an elected leader. However, real stability still depends on parliamentary cooperation, budgets, and continued public legitimacy. Ties to parliament. No government can function effectively without parliament. Laws, reforms, and funding require approval, making conflict between branches unavoidable and structurally necessary. Crisis of trust. When governments lose connection with parliament and society, political crises emerge. This is not democratic failure, but a corrective mechanism signaling broken legitimacy. How laws are made. Origins of initiative. Laws may originate from grassroots movements, experts, unions, or civic groups, as well as from governments and legislators. Democracy allows multiple sources of legislative initiative. Drafting the law. A law is never written overnight. It is shaped through legal analysis, expert review, public debate, and conflict between competing interests, political pressures, and long-term consequences for society. Parliamentary route. Committees, readings, amendments, and negotiations transform ideas into enforceable rules. Public attention during this phase can significantly alter or stop legislation. Public visibility. Transparency, media coverage, and civic engagement can accelerate needed reforms or prevent harmful decisions. Visibility turns legislation into a public responsibility. After adoption, passing a law is not the end. Courts, enforcement agencies, and social reaction continue shaping how the law functions in reality, interpreting rules, applying power. Branches of power. Division of functions. Legislative power creates rules, executive power implements them, and judicial power ensures fair application. This division prevents concentration of authority. Checks and balances. Checks and balances exist to protect society, not political elites. Each branch limits the others, reducing the risk of abuse, concentration of power, and authoritarian drift. Courts as guardians. An independent judiciary protects democratic rules rather than political convenience. Court decisions may be unpopular at times, yet they safeguard institutional integrity and public trust. Conflict is normal. Conflict is normal in any functioning system. It signals friction, competing interests, and change. When handled through dialogue and rules, conflict exposes weaknesses, strengthening institutions. Society as final arbiter. Ultimately, society decides whether balance survives. Civic passivity weakens democracy, while active, informed engagement strengthens institutions and preserves boundaries of power. How parties are created. Bottom-up parties. Many parties emerge from social movements that lacked representation, growing out of protests and civic frustration, converting public anger into durable, structured political organization. Ideological formation. Ideological parties develop around shared values and worldviews that resonate with large segments of society, turning beliefs into programs and symbols that mobilize voters and shape identity. Leader-centered parties. Some parties form around charismatic leaders who embody social demands for change, stability, or protection. These leaders personalize movements, simplify complex ideas, and concentrate expectations. Evolution and selection. Parties either adapt to society or disappear. Democratic competition constantly filters out structures that lose public relevance and trust, rewarding those able to respond to changing expectations. Public responsibility. The quality of parties reflects citizen expectations and civic pressure. When public demands are weak, political organizations become fragile, opportunistic, and unable to represent society properly. Media and public will. Shared arena. Mass media create a shared public space where society and power constantly interact and respond to each other. Without this arena, democratic feedback weakens and collapses. Amplifying initiatives. Media can elevate local initiatives to national importance, forcing political systems to respond, reshape priorities, justify decisions publicly, and adjust policies under pressure from public attention. Risk of distortion. Manipulative media distort public will by replacing careful analysis with fear, outrage, and emotion, weakening democratic judgment, narrowing debate, amplifying division, and guiding citizens toward reactive choices. Audience responsibility. Media quality depends on audience demand. Attention itself becomes a political resource, shaping which voices are amplified, which issues dominate public debate, and how power responds to what people choose. Struggle for meaning. Politics is not only about decisions, but about interpretation, framing, and narrative control. Democracy survives when citizens consciously question sources, verify facts, and engage with information. A mirror of society. Reflection of character. Power always reflects society's maturity, solidarity, fears, and readiness to accept responsibility for the future, revealing how citizens understand consequences. Earned governance. Every society receives the government it shapes through participation, tolerance, and expectations, formed over time by civic habits, shared responsibility, public pressure, and the willingness. Democracy is work. Democracy does not guarantee perfect outcomes, but it offers tools to correct mistakes through pressure, oversight, and involvement, allowing societies to adapt, learn from failure, and gradually improve governance. Final thought. Understanding how power works is not academic theory but a practical tool for everyday life. Democracy functions only where society understands its own mechanisms, recognizes responsibility, and actively participates.
Hello everyone. I am very excited to share my new YouTube video with you, and I need your support to continue to bring quality and enriching content. If you enjoyed my content, please help me by like the video, it helps me reach more people and spread the message. Subscribe to the channel using the subscribe button below so you don't miss any new update or video. Press the bell to receive notifications every time I upload new content. And if you would like to support me directly and help me create more content, you are welcome to join me on Patreon. Your support is significant for me and allows me to continue investing in creating quality and enjoyable content for you. Thank you so much for joining and watching. I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. See you in the next video.